My parents skipped my wedding because I married before my perfect sister. Now, their image of a perfect family is finally crumbling. After being together for 4 years, I 32F, got married 8 months ago. Everyone attended the wedding except for my parents and my sister, Mullen, 30F. While my parents' decision to skip the event was shocking, I wasn't entirely surprised by Mullen's absence. We've never gotten along. Looking back, I should have anticipated their behavior, given our family dynamics. Let me give you some background. My parents have always favored my sister. To some extent, I can't blame them. Mullen has excelled at nearly everything since childhood. She commanded attention wherever she went. As soon as she could walk, she dominated spelling bees, science fairs, and talent shows. In high school, she was class president, valedictorian, and even prom queen. Tall, slender, and stunning, she pursued modeling in college alongside her business degree. She got her first professional modeling gig as a sophomore, and my parents threw a lavish party to celebrate. Her first professional headshot still hangs above our living room fireplace. Meanwhile, the same year, I graduated with a degree in computer science. My parents' reaction, a mumbled "well done," before they turned their focus back to Mullen's next photo shoot. Mullen continued to climb the corporate ladder after college. By 30, she had a corner office, a company car, and a senior executive position at a prominent firm. In contrast, I work as a mid-level software developer, a role I'm proud of but one that doesn't inspire parental boasting. Growing up, I was also compared unfavorably to Mullen in appearance. I'm shorter and bigger than her, and my mother constantly reminded me of it. She signed me up for workout classes I didn't want, put me on endless diets, and often said, "Mullen never struggles with her weight," or, "You could look as nice as your sister if you just put in more effort." By high school, I had learned to ignore the remarks, but they still stung. Over the years, I came to terms with the fact that my parents didn't value my accomplishments as much as Mullen's. I tried everything to win their approval, taking their recommended classes, joining clubs they encourage, even trying modeling briefly. That was a disaster Mullen loves to remind me of. Eventually, I gave up trying. By my mid-20s, I focused on building a life I could be proud of, growing professionally, forming meaningful relationships, and surrounding myself with people who appreciated me for who I was. This shift improved my emotional well-being, though I kept interactions with my parents superficial to avoid conflict. During family gatherings, I would smile and nod while they raved about Mullen's latest job, boyfriend, or vacation. They didn't notice my emotional distance as they were too preoccupied with her achievements. Then I met my husband. We connected at a tech conference through a mutual friend. Unlike my family, he truly saw me, appreciating my humor, my coding skills, and even my body. From the start, he never once compared me to anyone else. 4 years later, he proposed while we were at home enjoying takeout and our favorite TV show. It was perfect. When I told my parents about our engagement, their reaction was a warning sign. They didn't congratulate me. My mom's response, silence, followed by, "Are you sure you're ready? Maybe you should work on your appearance before the wedding." My dad said little, and at the engagement party, they spent most of their time huddled over my mom's phone. Later, my husband told me he overheard them talking to Mullen, who was crying. He caught snippets about how this wasn't the plan and how they never thought Rebecca would get married first. Planning the wedding was tough. My mom, who had already made Pinterest boards for Mullen's future wedding, despite Mullen being single, showed little interest in helping me. When I picked a simple yet stunning A-line gown that made me feel beautiful, her only comment was, "It's practical and suits your figure." My future mother-in-law stepped up, helping me with most of the preparations. My husband and I carefully curated the guest list, ensuring no one was left out. Invitations went out electronically and on paper, but I wasn't holding my breath for my parents or Mullen to attend. I was certain my parents received their invitations since the electronic versions included red receipts. I followed up with multiple calls, texts, and emails when I realized they hadn't RSVP'd. Their responses were vague at best, claims of being too busy and needing to check their schedules. Eventually, I had to stop worrying and focus on the wedding preparations. My in-laws stepped in to help, assisting with everything from seating arrangements to floral designs. Even at the lovely bridal shower hosted by my husband's sister, the absence of my own family was glaring, though no one mentioned it. Despite my parents not being there, the wedding day was beautiful. We held a simple morning ceremony in a garden, followed by a laid-back afternoon celebration. Friends and family kept telling us how happy and in love we looked, but there were moments when their absence felt like a physical ache, seeing the empty front row seats, or not having a father-daughter dance. After the honeymoon, I reached out to my parents for answers. They claimed they were deeply hurt because they never received a formal invitation. When I finally got them on the phone, my mother launched into a tirade, accusing me of being careless and lamenting how she had always dreamed of helping plan her daughter's weddings. She couldn't understand why I would exclude them from such an important event. Confused, I double-checked our records during the call. Both the electronic and physical invitations had been sent, and the delivery of the paper invites was confirmed. I didn't confront them about what felt like blatant gaslighting. Instead, I apologized for any supposed oversight and ended the conversation. Later, my husband pointed out several red flags from the engagement and wedding planning stages. He reminded me of how my parents seemed surprised, not happy, when we announced our engagement. He noted how they made excuses to avoid helping with the preparations. He hadn't brought it up before to spare me additional stress. But looking back, it was clear. The idea of their less successful daughter marrying before their beloved Mullen was too much for them to bear. Their behavior only reinforced what I had long suspected but resisted acknowledging. I could never compete with Mullen in their eyes. Even on my wedding day, a moment meant to celebrate love and new beginnings, they turned it into another battlefield in their relentless quest to uphold their perfect family image, with Mullen at the center. Recently, I learned from other relatives that Mullen is now engaged after dating someone for just a year. My parents are ecstatic, eagerly planning an extravagant wedding. They've been boasting about booking luxury venues and gowns, and my mother is even accompanying Mullen to private fittings at upscale boutiques, the kind of mother-daughter experiences I was denied. Interestingly, many relatives are refusing to attend Mullen's engagement party or wedding. My parents' actions during my wedding have become a topic of discussion within the family. When relatives ask why my parents didn't attend my wedding, I simply share the truth. They couldn't handle me marrying before Mullen. I stick to the facts, avoiding embellishment or seeking sympathy. A few days ago, my parents accused me of deliberately sabotaging Mullen's wedding. They claimed I was spreading lies out of jealousy over her lavish plans. The truth is, I've only been honest about what happened. If their actions make them look bad, that's on them. Instead of blaming me, they should reflect on their behavior. As these dynamics unfold, maintaining even a superficial relationship with my parents feels increasingly impossible. Their absence at my wedding was painful, but it pales in comparison to the realization that I never had the loving, supportive parents I always wished for. Now I'm focusing on building a life with someone who truly values me for who I am. I'll keep you updated if anything significant changes. Since my last post 2 weeks ago, a lot has happened. I finally decided to confront my parents face-to-face about their actions at my wedding and their accusations that I had ruined Mullen's special day. Encouraged by your supportive comments, I realized it was time to lay everything out in the open. The confrontation began with them texting me, lamenting their tarnished family history. During a subsequent phone call, they quickly turned to accusations, claiming I was jealous of Mullen and that I had orchestrated everything to spite her. For the first time in my life, I didn't defend myself. Instead, I agreed with them, but not in the way they expected. "You're right," I said. "I am envious, not of Mullen's career, accomplishments, or appearance. I'm envious of the unwavering love and support you've always shown her, support you never even attempted to give me." There was a stunned silence on the line before my mother dismissed my words as an exaggeration, insisting they had always treated us equally. At that moment, something inside me snapped. Years of suppressed emotions flooded out as I laid bare every slight and hurt. I reminded them how Mullen's modeling callback had overshadowed my high school graduation dinner. I spoke about the disparity in how they celebrated her achievements versus mine, like her prom dress costing more than a year's worth of my college textbooks. I told them how humiliating it was to watch them obsess over Mullen's hypothetical wedding for years, only to show zero interest in mine. Finally, I revealed the pain of seeing their empty seats at my wedding, and how my mother-in-law had to step in to help with everything they neglected. Their response was exactly what I should have expected. Instead of addressing my concerns, they flipped the blame onto me. "Why didn't you speak up sooner if you felt this way?" my mother demanded, as though I hadn't tried for years to voice my feelings. My father accused me of being unjust and spiteful for sharing my emotions with family members, while my mother dropped the ultimate bombshell. "We never imagined you'd go to such lengths to ruin Mullen's wedding out of spite, but we always knew you were insecure about her success. This isn't how we raised you." In that moment, it became crystal clear. They weren't even listening to me. Their focus wasn't on my pain, but on Mullen's impending nuptials and how this conflict might affect her. For the first time in my life, I didn't try to fix the situation or placate them. Instead, I replied with unflinching honesty. You're right about one thing. You did raise me to believe I would never measure up, to know that Mullen's accomplishments would always matter more, and that maintaining your perfect family image was more important than my feelings. But you also taught me something you didn't intend. I deserve better than this. There was a long silence before my father finally spoke in a calm, detached tone. Maybe it's time we stop pretending we're bad parents since you've already made up your mind. Clearly, you enjoy making us suffer. Family is supposed to work through these things together, but it's obvious you've chosen a different path. My mother added the final blow. Maybe you just couldn't handle not being the center of attention. We've always treated you fairly, Rebecca. If you chose to play the victim, that's not our fault. I didn't argue. What would be the point? They had just validated everything I said without even realizing it. I calmly said goodbye and hung up. To my surprise, I felt relief afterward. The tears I shed were not of heartbreak but liberation. For the first time, I had spoken my truth without guilt or self-doubt. Later, as I sat on the back porch watching the sunset, my husband joined me and took my hand. They're never going to change, are they? I asked after a long pause. No, he said gently, squeezing my hand. But you have, and that's what matters. He was right. The desperate girl who once craved her parents' approval was gone. I no longer needed their validation to feel whole. Acknowledging that my parents will never be the loving, supportive figures I wished for is painful, but not as painful as holding on to false hope. I've let go. For the first time, I don't care what happens with Mullen's wedding or the family drama surrounding it. I've said my piece. Now they have to live with the consequences of their actions. Oddly enough, I feel lighter, as if a lifelong burden has been lifted. It's not the happy ending I wanted, but it's the closure I needed. I assumed that would be the end of it, but a few hours later, my husband called me at work, laughing so hard he could barely speak. It turned out Mullen, unable to reach me directly, had somehow obtained his personal number, likely through a mutual acquaintance, and sent him a series of texts. These messages meticulously outlined her take on why our sisterly relationship had always been strained. Her initial message began with a professional tone. As Rebecca's sister and someone who cares deeply about our family's well-being, I feel compelled to reach out. But it didn't take long for her true motivations to shine through. She informed my husband that he had a responsibility to help me behave in a more suitable manner as the new man in my life. The text became increasingly condescending, suggesting that family dynamics are complex and implying that I, due to my sensitivity, might lack the capacity to understand the bigger picture. She then urged him to assist Rebecca in seeing reason before I supposedly caused irreparable damage to family relationships. The most audacious part of her message came next. Surely you understand that maintaining good relationships with successful family members, like myself, could be beneficial for your future. Rebecca's behavior is only hurting her own prospects and by extension yours. My husband, a professional software architect with an MBA, found her presumptions laughable. She really doesn't know me at all, does she? He said later. He saw right through her attempt to manipulate him by dangling social connections and networking opportunities. That evening, we went through her messages together. Instead of feeling offended or upset, we laughed. Seeing her manipulative tactics fail so spectacularly, especially when aimed at someone completely immune to them, was surprisingly freeing. This interaction revealed something fundamental about Mullen. Despite her achievements, she remains the same insecure person she was in high school. Back then, she'd resort to turning my friends against me when direct bullying didn't work. Different decade, same tactics. Her attempt to manipulate my husband was particularly revealing. When her direct approach to control me failed, she shifted to using him against me, a strategy that had worked on others in the past. This time, though, it backfired. My husband's response was perfect. Thank you for your concern about Rebecca's well-being. As her husband, my focus is on supporting her happiness, not managing her behavior. I think it's best if you direct any future concerns to Rebecca directly. Have a nice day. Mullen wasn't pleased with this response. She sent one final text. I see she's poisoned you against the family too. Don't say I didn't try to help when this all blows up in your faces. Ironically, her help only strengthened my resolve to distance myself from my family's toxic dynamics. Her inability to control the narrative and the clear rejection of her manipulation was both amusing and liberating. My husband and I spent the evening joking about her texts and planning a weekend getaway instead of dwelling on the drama. This incident made me realize that true family isn't about maintaining facades or dictating narratives. It's about love, laughter, and support. When someone, family or not, tries to manipulate you, you're better off keeping your distance. I'm more certain than ever that staying out of Mullen's wedding drama is the right choice. Instead of being drawn into my family's endless power struggles, my husband and I are focusing on building our own happiness. Success, I've learned, isn't about impressing others. It's about living authentically, making decisions that reflect your values, and surrounding yourself with people who uplift you. By that measure, I've never felt more successful.